Hey everybody, Penguin here. We're going to be doing some reviews of movies today. This will be the second installment of my movie reviews, so we'll call it Movies 2. But first, I want to talk about something that kind of excited me today. I saw something that I've seen in zoos, seen on TV, all media types and everything like that, but it's the first time I actually saw one in person that wasn't in captivity. That is an owl. Walked out the door of the cave and it was on the ground and it flew up into a tree, and we just kind of sat there watching each other. I come back inside the cave to get my camera to take a picture, but I was too late and it flew away. It was a gray owl and had dark spots on it, so I don't know if that was a spotted owl or what kind of owl it was, but it was kind of interesting, and I kind of got excited about that because it's something I've never seen before in the wild. So anyway, we're going to get started with the movies. First movie on the list is Wind River. Now, the things I read about the movies themselves, all the movies I have listed today, they all came from IMDb for the description. So if the description's bad, talk to them, not me. So a veteran tracker with the Fish and Wildlife Service helps to investigate the murder of a young Native American woman and uses the case as a means of seeking redemption for an earlier act of irresponsibility which ended in tragedy. This movie to me was a good movie. I think it was a little bit slow at times, but when it got slow, it kind of seemed to pick up the pace. Now, Rotten Tomatoes gave this an 87%, which is pretty good, and IMDb gave it a 7.9 stars, so that was rated a little bit lower. But all in all, it was a pretty good movie. I mean, it was one that, I stayed tuned, and I didn't get bored with it. That's for sure. Even though it got slow, it was still interesting as far as what people do on the reservation and what's, I guess you could say, U.S. government business and Indian reservation business. So it really was kind of interesting. Shot Caller. A newly released prison gangster is forced by the leaders of his gang to orchestrate a major crime with a brutal rival gang in the streets of Southern California. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 74% and IMDb gave it a 7.4 stars. So they were right on with that, and that's pretty much what I would give it to. It was a good movie. It had a lot of ups and downs, but it was just interesting to see how somebody gets out of prison and immediately back into doing some of the things that got them into prison. So it was pretty interesting as far as that goes. The next movie is The House. Now, this has Will Ferrell in it, and it reads, after the town takes away their daughter's college scholarship, a couple start an illegal casino in their friend's house to make back the money. I was expecting this to be a really good movie. I mean, most of Will Ferrell's movies, they're pretty good. Hated him on Saturday Night Live, didn't think he was funny at all. But he actually is a pretty good actor. And IMDb gave it a 5.6, while Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 16%. So that was quite low. I would probably give it between the 40s and 50s because it seemed like it could have been funnier than it was. There was no build-up to something funny. I think it was poorly put together. And while there were some funny parts to it, overall it just really wasn't what you would expect from one of his movies. The funniness wasn't there. And it may be because of his co-actors, I'm not sure, or co-stars, however you want to say that. I'm not really sure, but I was kind of disappointed in the movie. The next movie is 47 Meters Down. When I saw the previews for this, I was expecting it to be kind of an exciting movie, but it was unrealistic that it could happen like this. And here's the preface of it. Two sisters vacationing in Mexico are trapped in a shark cage at the bottom of the ocean. With less than an hour of oxygen left and great whites circling nearby, they must fight to survive. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 53%, and IMDb gave it a 5.3. And I kind of got to agree with that. It's about mid-range. Again, parts were just unrealistic that just could not happen along the timelines of the movie. But it's a movie. It's fiction. So that's kind of where I went with that. So I would rate it about midway. It was a good premise for a movie, but I think they could have made it a little bit more realistic and give them more chances to do what they did without making it be so unreal. The next movie is The Big Sick. Pakistani-born comedian Kumail Nanjiani and grad student Emily Gardner fall in love, but struggle as their cultures clash. When Emily contracts a mysterious illness, Kumail finds himself forced to face her feisty parents, his family's expectations, and his true feelings. IMDb gave it a 7.7. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 98%, which is extremely high for Rotten Tomatoes. I was very surprised at the rating on that. Well, I think in the 70s is where it should be, or in the 7s as far as the stars from IMDb. I'm really trying to word. There were parts of it that were just very dry, but it was realistic as far as how, especially new couples sometimes talk to each other and act towards each other, but it just seemed dry for a movie. I'm not a fan of his comedy, and I think that the movie definitely demonstrates how it's very difficult sometimes to cross cultures when it comes to dating, marriage, and everything like that, because you have certain ways in this culture, certain ways in this culture, and which one is going to, I don't want to say give up or give in, but which one is going to be the one to say, okay, I'll accept yours more so than you accept mine, because it's really hard to find a fine line in between that. Next up, we have The Mummy, starring Tom Cruise, and it reads, an ancient Egyptian princess is awakened from her crypt beneath the desert, bringing with her malevolence grown over millennia with terrors that defy human comprehension. IMDb gave it a 5.5, while Rotten Tomatoes gave it an 87. So there's a big difference there, and I'm not really sure why. It was an okay movie. I don't like Tom Cruise, as you've heard me say before, but I do like the movies that he makes. And I would give it a midways. I would definitely not go up in the 80s for it. There was some excitement, some good action in it. It had a good storyline. So I would give it maybe a 6 is the highest I would probably give that, or a 60 for Rotten Tomatoes. It Comes at Night. Secure within a desolate home as an unnatural threat terrorizes the world, a man has established a tenuous domestic order with his wife and son. Then a desperate young family arrives seeking refuge. IMDb a 6.2, Rotten Tomatoes an 89. Again, that's very high for this movie. While I enjoyed it, it didn't seem to keep me interested through the whole thing. There were a lot of lulls on the roller coaster hill and a lot of valleys that didn't get brought back up to speed for quite a while. It took me actually 2 sessions to watch this. I was not interested enough to watch it all the way through, but I kind of made myself do it. I mean, it was a good storyline. If you think about something like The Stand, something out there is killing people, people are getting sick. That's kind of the premise of this, but it's a guy makes his own fort and he just stands his ground. And that's pretty much how it went through the whole movie. A Dark Song. A determined young woman and a damaged occultist risk their lives and souls to perform a dangerous ritual that will grant them what they want. Basically, they're trying to contact this spirit or entity or however you want to call it, and they will each get one wish if they do this. They board themselves up in a home, and they can't go outside. There's a circle drawn around the house. They can't go outside that circle, or demons will be released or something. Again, interesting premise for a movie. IMDb gave it a 6. Again, Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 90. I would maybe go halfway there, maybe in the 70s, because the premise is good, but there was just some weird things happening in that movie. But when you're contacting the occult and spirits and entities, you can't expect anything but weird. Unforgettable. A woman sets out to make life a living hell for her ex-husband's new fiancé. Now this one has Katherine Heigl in it, so you really couldn't expect much out of it. IMDb gave it a 5. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 22. That's pretty low for Rotten Tomatoes. I would have given it between a 4 and 5 or a 450. I mean, it was. I think that the part played by her could have been played by somebody of a more reputable name and more of a better actor or better character actor. Off the top of my head, I think that there's many actresses out there who would have played vindictive, like something like that. And that's all it really was just out to, because she didn't want to get a divorce, but she's the one that really created the situation in which they divorced. It was kind of interesting. Unfortunately, the child suffers in all cases like this, but here again, it's only a movie. Finally, we have the Book of Henry. With instructions from her genius son's carefully crafted notebook, a single mother sets out to rescue a young girl from the hands of her abusive stepfather. This one stars Maddie Ziegler from Dance Moms. If you guys ever watched that, the girl's really good at dancing and has established herself in a really well-rounded career with both acting and dancing, music videos and things like that. She didn't play a major role in this, even though it was kind of surrounding her, but she played a very pivotal role. She didn't have a lot of lines, she wasn't on the screen a lot, but it was actually a very good written part for her, playing somebody who's kind of shy and withdrawn from society in their own head because of what's going on with her stepfather. IMDb gave it a 6.5, while Rotten Tomatoes only gave it a 21. I would have given this probably a 6.5 to a 7. I enjoyed it. I mean, anybody could have acted her part, but she did a really good job of it. But a lot of young stars could have actually taken over that part. I think that's what they were looking for as far as what she is. She's she's not that outgoing unless she's doing what she does best, and that's on the dance floor, or the stage, I guess you could say. And that concludes the second episode of Penguin's Movie Reviews. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got some insight. Hope this helps you decide whether you want to watch some or not watch some. I think most movies should be given a chance. Whether you may like a part of it that made it worthwhile throughout the whole thing, and that's the way it was for me with some of these movies. There are some scenes or some action or some just scenes in general that I liked and I thought was well written and well, I guess, acted and scripted, and that's what made me like the movie. So keep on watching the movies, everybody. This is Penguin Speaks. Be somebody important. Be yourself. Peace out.